Should you buy an Xbox in 2025? The Xbox brand is really in uncharted territory right now. For many years, you buy an Xbox to play games such as Halo, Forza, Gears of War. However, slowly but surely, these games are all landing on not only PC, but even PS5 and likely the Switch too. Further complicating things, they've been very clear that the next generation is going to be a big shift compared to what we've got right now, and there are even rumors that there may be a portable Xbox on the horizon. So the question, my friends, is should you consider buying any of the existing hardware now, or is it better to just wait and see exactly what Philly and the boys are cooking up? Philly S, the Spencinator, Phil and the Xbots. Actually, that one's not bad. You know, honestly, Phil and the Xbots, I would listen to that. That sounds dope. Let's start by talking about the little brother in the lineup, the Xbox Series S. Now, this is a very bold move for Microsoft to do this right out of the gate. If you think about last generation, they started out with the Xbox One, and then 4 years later they brought out the Pro model, the Xbox One X. But instead, they did that immediately when they started this generation because the Series S and the Series X launched at the exact same time. Now, what you're getting with this, first and foremost, is a much cheaper console. This is retailing for $300 for the 512 gig model. They also do have a 1 terabyte model for $350. And what you're getting is essentially the exact same thing as the Xbox Series X, except there's no disk drive, and it is much more tuned for 1080p. So it is a less powerful console, specifically when it comes to the graphics side. Now it plays all the same games, and they're all generally about the same. We'll take a little bit of a closer look at the compromises in gameplay and specifically in the graphics. But by and large, this is the full Xbox experience. And what this really feels like it's meant for is Xbox Game Pass, baby. Game Pass is really where this shines because you're not gonna buy any of the discs. You just get to sign up for the subscription, and you're going to get a pretty wide selection of all the games you would want to play on Xbox for a low monthly fee. So what can I get a Series S for? Not on the refurbished market right now, but also on the used side of things.
Yeah, so if you wanted to get it refurbished directly from Microsoft, so they're the ones that, are experts at refurbishing these guys,
Sure.
You can get it for $250.
So reasonable, but not really a spectacular deal. I know when we took a look at directly buying refurbished consoles from Microsoft last year, their warranty was really pretty poor compared to what Sony and Nintendo offer. How about on just the used market, like just eBay?
Yeah, so if you want to go, not the Microsoft route, but just from random sellers, you can get it for around $180.
Not a bad deal. A little bit of a bigger sticking point is the storage. So this base model, the 512 gig, is quite limited when it comes to storage capacity. You might only fit 4 or 5 games on this before it is full. And especially with Game Pass, one of the advantages is that you can just download stuff and try it and get rid of it. You need to be pretty careful when it comes to how much stuff you leave on. Now, they have sold a 1 terabyte model of this for a little bit. It used to be actually sold briefly a black version of the Series S with a 1 terabyte, although now it's all white. Those are a little bit more expensive. You can also, if you like, buy one of the expansion cards. So these, just like an old school memory card, if you pop it off here, it will plug directly into the back of your Series S or Series X, and it will expand your storage very quickly. Now, the downside with these are they're a little expensive. So as of recording this video, the 512 gigs are like $80. The 1 terabytes are like close to like 150. If you know you're gonna be really using your Series S, if you find a decent deal on a 1 terabyte, that's not a bad move, but you can expand your storage later. Or you can just be very disciplined with how quickly you uninstall games as soon as you're done with them. Now, it is an incredibly subtle difference, but there actually are 2 different versions of the Xbox Series S. In late 2024, Microsoft redesigned this console basically to cut some costs. So the original launch model had several heat pipes. The newer generation, especially if you buy a new one right now, only has a single heat pipe. They've also simplified the motherboard a little bit. I'll be honest with you, there's not a difference that's large enough for you to notice, but technically, the older Series S's are ever so slightly better. Unless little Timmy dumped his Cheetos in the fan grill, in which case they're not better.
Yeah, but they could do that with the newer old consoles. So.
It's true. But the older it is, the more likely little Timmy has got his Cheeto fingers all over your beautiful white Xbox Series S. Stepping up to the big boy, we have the Xbox Series X. Now, there are 2 main configurations of this console. So for the entire lifespan, they have shipped the disc model, the regular 1 terabyte Xbox Series X. Now there is a limited edition which we have here, which has a 2 terabyte SSD. However, that was a very limited edition. It was like $600. It sold out pretty quickly. I don't think they're going to be restocking it. However, there is one other console that you should consider, which is the digital Series X. Again, this launched late 2024, so you're not gonna find a lot of these on the used market. It is the exact same console in pretty much every single way, except that no disk drive. Now, when you compare the Xbox lineup to the PS5, its main competition, you'll see it's actually a pretty imbalanced lineup. So there's no PlayStation equivalent to the Series S. It is cheaper and less powerful across the board. Now, when you move up to the standard Xbox Series X, it is pretty much toe-to-toe with the PS5. Not in performance level, but generally speaking, pricing, give or take a little bit. However, what the PS5 has that the Xbox doesn't is a Pro model. So the PS5 Pro is significantly more powerful than any Xbox you can buy. Now, it is also significantly more expensive at $700, which I'll be honest with you, is a tough sell for most people. Much like the Xbox Series S, the Series X also saw a hardware revision at the end of 2024. So what you're getting here with these newer Series X's is actually a slightly more efficient processor. Now, they did also redesign some of the internal cooling. I did a whole video on it, but basically what you're gonna see here is that it's a subtle difference. It's not something that really should be a make or break, but if everything else was equal, a newer Series X is going to run a little bit more efficiently, take up just a little bit less power. So again, the digital model of the Series X MSRP is $450, and the 1 terabyte model that has the disk drive is $500. What can I get a refurbished or a used one for?
Okay, so the all-new digital one
Yeah.
is so new that there's just not really many used things on the market.
It's only been out for like 3 or 4 months now at this point.
Yes. So when we're looking at used pricing, it's going to be primarily on the standard regular Xbox.
Regular 1 terabyte disk-based Xbox Series X. Got it.
Yeah. So if you want to buy it refurbished from Microsoft,
Don't do that.
it's going to be $470.
Wait, they went up? We did that video last year where we bought the Series X refurbished from Microsoft. I thought it was $450. You only saved $30?
Yeah, it is not a good deal.
That's a terrible deal, Microsoft. How about if I don't want to buy it refurbished from Microsoft?
Yeah, so if you look on like places like eBay, it's much more reasonable. You'll get it for around $350.
Okay, that actually makes a lot of sense. Still, almost double the price of the Series S, but for $350, I really think that if you're buying an Xbox Series X in 2025, the very, very easy sales pitch for me is that you're taking advantage of that disk drive. You're buying used, or you're taking advantage of your existing library of Xbox One games and 360 games and original Xbox games. You're also probably still gonna have a Game Pass subscription with this. The games are going to look better, as we'll describe in a minute, on the Series X compared to the S. But bottom line is this. This hardware is approaching 5 years old. It's quite decent. You're gonna get some nice looking games, but certainly is not gonna hold a candle to your $4,000 RTX 5090 gaming PC. But that's not really the point. So a great example is Avowed, which is a brand new game that is on Xbox Game Pass, specifically running on the Series S. Now this is a game that, yes, if you put it side by side with what you get on the Series X, is not running as well. Specifically, this is not running at 60 FPS. It'll run at 30. I think you can toggle it to a mode to unlock it to 40. However, again, what I would just say is that it's not that bad. It really isn't. Now, I mean, yes, with something like this, if you look closely, you can see there's a little bit of sort of upscaling that's going on with his face, but it's really not that bad. I feel like I have to say this over and over and over again, because people they do not give the Series S any respect. It doesn't look as good as the Series X, but I'm playing on a 65-inch 4K OLED 3 feet in front of my face. I'm like, oh yeah, I can see it a little bit. With the Xbox Series X, you are getting the highest fidelity, except if they bring out that same game on the PS5 Pro. So this is Forza Motorsport. Now, not to be confused with Forza Horizon 5, which is one of the Xbox games that is now on PlayStation. This is a game that's a little bit more tuned to be realistic. I got focus. Why did I pick something that's gonna be hard for me to focus on? See, I'm making my way up through here. Making my way downtown, walking fast. I'm going, oh, what? I'm not even doing that, bro. One of the advantages of the Series X is that it does generally have more modes available than the Series S. So a lot of titles will have, the standard, performance and fidelity mode or something, but this actually has even more, specifically when we're playing Forza Motorsport. So regular performance mode, which is 4K 60, but you can also turn on ray tracing, which will still give you a very similar level of performance, except a little bit of extra visuals, or you can go 4K 30. And some games, specifically a lot of like first-person shooters and whatnot, will actually allow you to uncap the frame rate to 120. Now, technically, the Xbox Series S will also play games at 120 FPS, but there are very few titles that actually support that. So if you really care, I mean, surprise, surprise, the bigger, more powerful, more expensive Xbox will give you more options. But this is only one part of the equation, because when you think about what the next generation, what the next couple of years of Xbox will bring, I think that's where it gets really spicy. One thing you won't find this generation is a pro version of the Xbox Series X. Sure, the last generation there was a real need for the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X to take advantage of 4K TVs in a way that the base consoles just simply couldn't handle. But this time around, while Sony have released the PS5 Pro, it's a $700 console with some questionable performance gains. It is definitely being targeted to the enthusiast who also collects Jordans and trades Pokemon cards. Not that I would know anything about either of those hobbies. I know about one of those hobbies, and I'm gonna call it a hobby and not an investment strategy. Personally, I think it's the right move for Microsoft to not try and chase the PS5 Pro, especially since their strategy to launch the lower-end Xbox Series S alongside the Series X was from the very get-go. Instead, it seems like internally, the Xbox team had been full steam ahead on the next generation for a while now, with what I believe are two very different approaches to next-gen hardware. Not only just a true successor to the Xbox Series X, but also a handheld Xbox to compete with the Switch 2, the Steam Deck, and the Windows portables. I mean, this isn't really a rumor. Phil Spencer outright said last year that they are working on it and they have already made prototypes. Now, timing-wise, you could probably rest easy, because if you just bought an Xbox or you're thinking about getting one, my best guess is that the next generation of Xbox won't ship until late 2026, if not 2027. We can't talk about whether it's worth getting an Xbox today, though, without discussing the future of the brand, because it's a lot more than just hardware at this point. The Xbox team are in the midst of a very unique marketing campaign, which is that everything is an Xbox. Your ROG Ally, it's an Xbox. Your Samsung toaster, probably an Xbox. Look, I understand that this feels like a great way for them to promote not only Xbox Game Pass, but also cloud gaming. I mean, it's a valid thing to do. However, I'm not necessarily a huge fan of thinking that everything is an Xbox. As long as you have good internet, cloud gaming can be perfectly fine, until your little sister gets back to watching her K-dramas on Netflix and it ruins your experience. Inherently, cloud gaming can be inconsistent with lag that pops up from time to time. I mean, to me, it really doesn't encapsulate what an Xbox should be. I mean, just look at something like the Xbox Series S. It is a lot less powerful than its bigger brother, but at least it delivers a stable, consistent experience. To better understand Xbox in 2025, I think it is best viewed through the lens of Game Pass. Yes, you can buy Microsoft-owned games on other platforms, and that's only going to expand, with titles like Halo, Forza, and Gears landing on the PS5 and probably the Switch 2 eventually, right? But the real value is the subscription to Game Pass that of course only works on Xbox hardware and Windows PCs. I mean, Xbox has pretty much already bought all the studios at this point. They already own Activision, Blizzard, Bethesda, Mojang, Turn 10. I mean, even if they decided to kill Xbox hardware tomorrow, Microsoft is gonna make a ton of money selling games on every possible platform. I mean, that's just what they're gonna do. There's no stopping that at this point. But that does not mean that Xbox as a console platform is dead just yet. There's a quote from Sarah Bond, the president of Xbox, from last year's Xbox showcase that I've been thinking about a lot.
And we're also invested in the next generation roadmap. And what we're really focused on there is delivering the largest technical leap you will have ever seen in a hardware generation, which makes it better for players and better for creators and the visions that they're building.
That is an incredibly bold statement, and I think it's telling about what to expect. To me, there is only one answer on how they're going to pull that off: AI. Now, before you roll your eyes, hear me out for just a second. Think about the history of every generation of Xbox. There have been massive technological leaps from console to console. Think about the real rise of open world games such as Skyrim and GTA 5. I mean, these were incredibly ambitious titles, and they were only possible thanks to the more powerful hardware of the Xbox 360. Move up to the Xbox One, and you have far bigger and more detailed worlds. And with the Xbox Series X, graphics, load times, and importantly, frame rates have improved so that 60 and even 120 FPS has become the standard. But the next generation will be different. In my opinion, there's no more low-hanging fruit left. They can't just go, oh, we'll bolt on a bigger CPU and call it a day, because ultimately, I don't believe they will make a significant difference to the types of games that you can play this next generation. That's why I think AI is the next big technological leap. There are a few ways that I think they'll lean into this. First of all, Microsoft just announced the new Muse AI. I covered this in a short, but it's a model that can recreate a game and generate it entirely in AI as long as you have thousands of hours of clean gameplay to train on. It can recreate entire levels, game physics, gameplay mechanics, and theoretically, at least according to Microsoft, it could be used to resurrect older titles that might not have an emulator. But it's just an example of how Microsoft are pushing AI everywhere. Think about Copilot Plus Windows 11 PCs with neural processing units, aka NPUs, that are specifically designed for AI tasks. I would be shocked if the next generation of Xboxes don't have a quite powerful NPU built in that enables legitimately different gameplay that you just simply couldn't run on existing hardware. Time will tell what form this takes in actual games, but I think the real way to think of this is as the next evolution of procedural generation. Games like Minecraft and No Man's Sky have already used procedural tech to generate entire worlds and galaxies, but with AI, you can give games more texture, more life. I mean, imagine NPCs that can have fully interactive conversations with you instead of just following pre-made scripts. Imagine a game like Baldur's Gate that already has dozens of endings, but with AI, they could have hundreds or thousands based on all the little decisions you make. So, should you buy an Xbox in 2025? Sure. To me, the easy recommendation is a used Xbox Series S. For $180, there's just a lot of inherent goodness here, especially if you combine it with Xbox Game Pass. Now, if you want to spend a little more money, the Series X is still a viable option, especially as a used console to play games at higher settings and enjoy a huge selection of older discs. But the bigger question really comes down to, do you want Xbox Game Pass? If so, the Xbox hardware itself makes a ton of sense. I mean, it's relatively cheap for what you get, but if you just want to buy all your games or you don't care about Game Pass, then maybe waiting a year or two for the next Xbox generation is the move. Or maybe go out and buy a PS5.